Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyati tarishyati tada gantasi nirvedham shrotavyasya sutasya cha. Translation Srila Prabhupada. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Text number 53. Shruti vipratipanna te yada stasyati nischala samadhav achala buddhis tada yogam avapsyasi. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Krishna Bhutale. Moham Karodi Vachai, Hare Krishna. So here we see Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how the Vedas carry us away from our intelligence away from what the truth reality is, and we become deluded, or we don't understand what is right and what is wrong. The point is that, see, on a day-to-day basis, we are used to hearing so many things about in so many subject matters. For example, this hearing is a process that is naturally there. We might hear about cricket, we might hear about politics. What happens is that the more we hear about these subject matters, we accept these as all in all and as the only reality, but which is not. For example, if you say people might today be interested in the game of cricket. So when somebody wins, and if his favorite party wins, then he is always in a thrilling mood. But that party never wins. Sometimes they have to lose also. This is how the whole material world is created. So sometimes when he loses, then the same person who was very happy when this team was winning, he will start losing his inspiration. And at that time, sometimes he says, what is this here? They are played so well. Now they are playing very badly. Now this is how the material world is. You take another example, say for example, politics. Politics is nothing but blaming each other and finding fault with each other, as we see today on a day-to-day basis. So externally, we might see that, oh, these are all our day-to-day activities, these are the realities. But if you see that none of them are the real truth, they are all a false belief. Now, Vedas, if you see as such, Vedas are all emanations from the Lord Himself, and they contain several branches of knowledge. It's not possible to understand these Vedas in today's Kali Yuga, because it's got so much of knowledge. They're all emanations from the Lord only. But in this Kali Yuga, people are so degraded and they have lost their intelligence to such an extent, they may not understand the flowery language of these Vedas. So we'll connect back to where we were in the previous verses and continue these two verses. So Vedas have got a lot of branches, like philosophy, geography, astrology, name it, everything is there in the Vedas. But when everything is there in the Vedas, what is the true reality that is given? Now, this knowledge is not wrong, knowledge is not bad, but people are not qualified in this age to understand a particular one branch of knowledge itself. So what we will do is we'll go through some 3 or 4 examples and see how people get deluded today and get carried away. So the Lord says that if you're intelligence enough to understand that this is not all in all, but what is the real truth, that means what we have come out is that we will become indifferent to whatever we have heard, and we will become indifferent to whatever we'll be hearing in future also. Say, for example, we will take 2 or 3 examples. First, we'll take up is charity. Now, as per Shastras, everyone is supposed to give in charity. It is said that those, at least today, in today's situation, those at the higher class, say the mercantile class, or those who are earning a good this thing, they are supposed to give 50% of their earning to a good cause. Now, what is a good cause? That is something that nobody knows. And what they end up doing, that we will try to understand. Now, Krishna is all good. So anything related to Krishna, given in charity or engaged to Krishna consciousness, is good. Otherwise, what happens is that charity is a sort of a material activity. Now, Vedas itself are the branches of knowledge in the three modes of material nature, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, if charity is at all to be given, it should be given to Brahmanas, real Brahmanas, or to institutions that are supported by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, if we look at today, a Brahmana does not have any source of living. And this Brahmana is one who performs his duty as a Brahmana. So when he performs, now there are so many types of activities in the Karmakanda section in the Vedas. Let's take a ritual, say a marriage. So if you want a marriage to be performed, you go and contact a Brahmana. And he says that unless and until you pay me this much of money, this is the bare minimum, and whatever on top of that you want to give. Now, a Brahmana does not have a source of income. So whatever he is given to him in charity for the performing that activity, he is supposed to be satisfied with it instead of demanding. Now, these intricacies, a common man does not know at all. He does not know also that this is how it works. So when he demands some money, the activity that he performs has no meaning. And this is a fact that we will see that many Brahmanas, they recite so many nice mantras and all those things. But the result for the one who is performing this activity is also not there. One who is spending a lot of money trying to get a Brahmana to perform these activities, he also does not get the benefit out of it. And then what happens is the one who is hosting these, he does not know. Now, the Brahmana is not supposed to demand money. Then, at the same time, similarly, the ingredients that are meant to be used in a sacrifice, they are supposed to be pure. And in Kali Yuga, you don't get anything that is pure in its nature. So, whatever activities that this Brahmana performs, he might be making some money for his survival. But ultimately, neither he gets the benefit of that activity, nor the one who is spending a lot of time, money, energy, but they want to show off today. Vedas does not say that you don't do this ritual, but the point is it is more of an exhibition. So if you see a marriage, people want to exhibit how much of money I have spent and how many people have come, and they want to be impressed that, oh, so many people have come and taken nice food and gone. With that, the thing is over. If that is the case, why should marriage end up in a divorce also? That is, ritual itself has no sanctity in this Kali Yuga. Similarly, sannyasis, they have no source of income. So they depend on the charity given by the other caste. Lord has in fact established this varnashrama system so that there is a proper balance within these 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. So charity can be given to sannyasis. It has got some benefit, but genuine sannyasis, and in Kali Yuga, we don't find sannyasis who are very, very genuine in nature. So what happens is that if one gives charity to these classes of men who are not qualified enough to get that charity, then what happens is that they don't get the benefit out of it. On the other hand, they can be bound in this material world also by giving charity, depending upon to whom they give. Generally, what happens is that we find people giving a lot of charity to institutions who establish dharmashala, annakshetra, guest house, atiti shala, this is guest houses, then anathalaya, like orphans and all, and some vidyapita. So there may be giving charity to schools also, and some old ages, hospitals, People give all these things without knowing what is the purpose of giving this charity. They may give charity for food, education, and all these things for the poor. But all these charity activities are called Dravyamaya Yajna, which actually bind the person who is giving. Now, also there in the Vedas, there are a lot of karma kanda activities mentioned, which says how by performing these so and so activities, one can go to higher planets within the universe. And so people do a lot of these sacrifices, which we see on a day-to-day basis. One example is that Chaturmasya. Now, it is mentioned in the Vedas that one who observes this Chaturmasya, he does not shave for 4 months during the monsoon time. He does not eat certain types of foods, and he does not eat even twice a day, and he does not leave his home also, which is practically not possible. So people observe this Chaturmasya Vrata without understanding what is the purpose of the Vrata. So in the Bhagavad-gītā itself, in the 17th chapter, that mentioned that charity given out of duty, without expectation of return at the proper time and place, until a worthy person is considered to be the mode of goodness. So giving in charity to a school or a hospital without expecting something in return is the mode of goodness. But we will see that you will hardly find anybody. I'm not saying nobody is there. There may be some who may not be expecting in return, but still they might expect that my name should be there, somewhere my name should be written, inscribed, and all those things. There are many people who give in charity expecting that. Some people think that I'm doing so many sinful. I've seen on a day-to-day basis also, we come across so many people to whom we preach. Some people think that on one side we do commit sinful activities like smoking or drinking or eating meat and all. They think that by giving charity to institutions like this, that will offset the sinful activities that they are performing, which is not true. What will happen is whatever charity they are giving, they will get the benefit out of it in the next birth or the birth after that. But the sinful activities that they are performing, they have to pay a price for which there will be a lot of suffering. These are sinful activities for which they have to suffer. Then it is also mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā that charity given with some expectation of some return. That means I want to be known and they should announce my name, or with a desire for a result, in a grudging mood, they are all charity given in the mode of passion, which again binds a person in this material world. Then charity performed at an impure place or at an improper time or to unworthy persons or without proper attention and respect is the mode of ignorance. For example, people might give in charity to places which are indulging in gambling or intoxication. That is not encouraged. Now, they will not, one who does not understand these Vedas will not know these intricacies. Now, they are all, from his point of view, he has given some money out of it. But then what happens is that it is in the mode of ignorance. But still, the Shastras also mention that charity cannot be ignored. In the 18th chapter itself, it says that charity, penance should never be abandoned. They should be there. So these acts of charity, sacrifice, penance, and all are to be maintained and not given up. In fact, it is said that they purify even great souls. So all these should be performed without attachment for a result or without expectation of result. This is how Krishna explains to Arjuna in Bhagavad-gītā. So prescribed duties that are like this have to be performed, but then one should not get carried away by the results of these activities. So we have also studied in Bhagavad-gītā in the previous few slokas that men of small knowledge are very much attached to these flowery words of the Vedas. So Vedas describe a lot of these flowery words in a very nice way by which people get carried away. And there are Brahmanas who propagate this for their own survival, because Brahmanas also need to survive. So Brahmanas, they know some portion of the Vedas and they propagate this, that if you do this, you will achieve this. There is no Brahmana who will speak the truth today. But they will say that by doing this, you will attain this benefit. By doing this, you will attain this benefit. For example, even if somebody does a lot of sacrifices and all, these yajnas and all, These are all means by which one can go to the heavenly planets, and one may be having some higher facility for enjoyment in these planets. What is that people look for today? They all look for some enjoyment in this material world in terms of intoxication or addiction to association with women, etc. But it is also mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā that because people are addicted to this karmakanda portion of the Vedas, the Brahmanas always propagate all these things for their own survival. Now in the Vedas, there are many different branches of knowledge, like karmakanda, which I discussed so far. Then there are another branches called jnanakanda. Now, if you see, there are so many different types of scriptures that are there, Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, so many different types of scriptures. And people don't know what is the purpose of each activity. What is the purpose of this that is mentioned in the scriptures? Because even the scriptures that are given, though these are emanations from the Lord himself, but those who are conveying to the common man, they are misinterpreting it for their own selfish interests. Similarly, there is mentioned that in the higher planets, there is something called somarasa. Somarasa is an intoxicating drink. So even in this material planet also, the earthly planet also, people want to drink some intoxication in these things so that they can become strong and enjoy sense gratification. But what is the purpose of life? Nobody knows. What is the purpose of these activities? Nobody knows. But they get carried away by these interpretations given in the scriptures, and they try to perform these activities by spending a lot of time and money. But in the process, they are all getting bound up in this material world by the reactions of these activities. One will get good reactions also, one will get negative reactions also. If you do something good, if the activities have been very pious, you will get pious results. But if the activities have been impious, or who has performed these activities impious, you will take a share of these reactions also. So in the previous sloka, we have studied that all the purposes that are served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purpose of Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind this. So one must know what is the purpose of these Vedas. And that is also mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā itself, where the Lord tells Arjuna in chapter 15, text 15. He says, Sarvasya chaham disannivishta matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedechi sarver ameva vedyo. That means the Lord is situated in our heart as the Paramatma feature, and he is giving us the intelligence to understand these, and he also knows. But he says, what is the ultimate purpose of knowing this Veda? Ultimate purpose of knowing these Vedas is to understand the goal. Now, purpose of human life is to attain the position of self-realization. But people get carried by these flowery languages and perform these activities for their own interest. But the purpose of human life is to attain self-realization. What is that self-realization means? Self-realization means that we are a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, not this material body, but the spirit soul that is there, which we have described already within our heart. That soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Paramatma. And that soul, being a part and parcel, has no other constitutional position other than to be established in relationship with the Lord and serve the Lord. Just like my eyes are meant to serve this whole body, I'm supposed to see the eyes to see out whatever we see through these eyes, and then in the process it serves the body. I'm supposed to hear the knowledge of the Lord, and then use that knowledge for understanding that, yes, I have to serve the Lord using my eyes or my ears. But what happens? People read a lot of newspapers and get carried away by so many activities like politics, sociology, astrology, astronomy. All these are the knowledge, the science is true. Even if you look at astronomy or astrology or all these, they are all, the science is true. In fact, we see in the scriptures, there is a mention as to how on the higher planets, the lifespan is much higher than this material world. For example, 6 months of a day here is equal to 1 day in the higher planetary systems. Similarly, 6 nights, 6 months is equal to 1 night. So if we see there, 1 day and 1 night is equal to something, is equal to about 6 months here. So what we see that today people who have gone and explored the space and all, they have also come to a conclusion that the lifespan in these higher planets is much higher than our earthly planet. So the science is true, but all these days until this nobody knew what is the real truth, but this is given in the Vedas. In astronomy, similarly, astrology is a science. It's not, the science is not false. But today we don't find a proper astrologer who knows the science in reality, but they are utilizing the science to make money for, and in the process fool the people who get carried away by this astrology. So that is why it is said that one who takes up this process of self-realization directly by understanding what is the purpose of life, he attains all the perfection that is there in all the scriptures. Now, we cannot in this lifetime read all the scriptures like Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and all these things. But the essence of all these is given in Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Bhagavad-gītā itself is nothing but a part of Mahabharata, and that also is mentioned is the 5th Veda. So, a lot of information, valuable information is given in Bhagavad-gītā. And therefore, one should try to understand Bhagavad-gītā from a proper source under the instructions of a spiritual master. Then one can understand that Vedas are flowery language, whereas the essence of the cream of Vedas is given in Bhagavad-gītā. So in this quote itself, we see that Srila Prabhupada has given a commentary where Madhavendra Puri has recited a prayer. He says, "O my prayers 3 times a day, all glories to you, O Vedi. I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects." That means he's offering a prayer saying that, "O demigods, O forefathers," people may do this Sandhya Vandana. That means they put on the Brahmanical thread at a very young age. So it has become a ritual. But the one who is doing this ritual, the Brahmana has performed the ritual and he has gone, taken the money and gone. The Brahmanical thread is given to a child who does not know what is the purpose of this, doing this 3 sandhyas. Ultimately, this 3 sandhya, one has to perform Sandhya Vandanam, Madhya Vandanam, Sayam Vandanam, everything at proper time, understanding that ultimately it is a mantra recitation to reach some purification of our human form of life, to understand the position of self-realization. So here he says that I'm not prepared to offer, I'm not in a position to offer you my respects. But wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, the enemy of Kamsa, that is Krishna. And thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. So this is one of the prayers that Madhavendra Puri has offered, which is powerful. That means what purpose of doing all these rituals, performing all these fruitive activities, sacrifices, everything is meant only to attain the position of self-realization. That is to remember Krishna at the time of death. Because whatever consciousness we have at the time of leaving our body, that will be our next body. And as long as we perform these fruitive activities, rituals, all these things, they will keep us binding in this material world because they are all in the modes of material nature. Then one might ask why these are given. The thing is, these are for men with lesser intelligence. So one who is really intelligent, Bhagavad-gītā also mentions that one who is really intelligent tries to understand the essence of all this Bhagavad-gītā, that is self-realization. When one understands Bhagavad-gītā, then he starts understanding Srimad Bhagavatam also. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but the ripened fruit of all the Vedic knowledge. So if one tries to read Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, all the essence of all the Vedic knowledge is given in these 2 basic scriptures, which one can understand if he hears and exactly as the way it is given. So what ultimately the point is one should remember Krishna and think of Krishna all the time. One cannot think of Krishna if he is involved in thinking or hearing about politics and economics on a day in and day out basis, but only if he is engaged in hearing and chanting. The beginning process of trying to remember Krishna is hearing and chanting. The more you hear, the more you chant about the Lord, the more you try to read Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we remember Krishna. And that is the ultimate purpose of life. So by doing all these Vedic sacrifices and all these things, we get bound. And gradually, after many births, one may reach a stage where he might understand that, yes, ultimately the purpose of all this is to understand who is God, what is my relationship with God. So this example is given for us to understand that the essence is not to read the Vedas, but to know what is the purpose of Vedas, that is to realize our position of self-realization. There are some more examples that are there. People offer oblations to forefathers, etc. Now, offering oblations to forefathers, etc., that is also mentioned in the Vedas. People perform Shraddha and all these things. Yes, that delivers them from the sinful planets at the higher distinct. But that does not deliver them from entering the cycle of birth in this material world. So I will give references, 2 or 3 references that are given in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. All of these can be achieved by simply performing devotional service unto Krishna. If one becomes a devotee of Krishna, automatically one's forefathers are delivered. But by performing a Shraddha ceremony, it is not necessary that the forefathers will be delivered, because the one who is performing the Shraddha, he may not be understanding even the essence of the reason for performing Shraddha. So it is mentioned that in Srimad, there is a very nice quote in Srimad Bhagavatam. I will not go to the sloka for want of time. So it says that one who has given up all material duties and has taken shelter, full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living entities, relatives, friends, mankind, and even one's own forefathers who have passed away. Since all such class of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord service has no need to serve such separate persons separately. That means we are obliged, as per Vedas, to forefathers, great saintly personalities, and so forth, so many people. But one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and serving at his lotus feet and has become a great devotee of the Lord, such a surrendered person does not have any obligation, whether to any demigods or great sages, etc. The Vedas, in fact, prescribe worship of the demigods, but ultimately Bhagavad-gītā mentions that one who worships the demigod for immediate benefit is not an intelligent person. He also becomes bound by the results of his karma. So that is why the ultimate goal of life is to attain this position of self-realization, which can be understood simply by directly taking up to the process of Krishna consciousness, by the process of hearing and chanting the names of the Lord. In Kali Yuga, the best means of deliverance, which the Shastras mention, is chanting the Mahamantra, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If this process is taken up, one does not have to even think of understanding the Vedas. So it is in the Sloka 53, it is mentioned that when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it is fixed in the process of self-realization, you will have attained the divine consciousness. What is the divine consciousness? Divine consciousness is Krishna consciousness, which can be achieved by the process of hearing and chanting the names of the Lord and hearing Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. If any of you have got any questions or any comments, you can ask me for the next couple of minutes.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Here, yes, Brahmanasya Vijanataha means to know Krishna or to know the self?
What is that self? What is that you said?
Brahmanasya Vijanataha is there, no Prabhu, in this verse? Here, Brahman means Krishna or self, Atma.
One second. There is no mention of Ramayanasya. Are you talking about the reference verse which Srila Prabhupada has given? Or the sloka itself, 52 or 53?
Shloka, Prabhupada.
There is no mention of Ramayanasya.
1 minute, Prabhu. Just a minute.
No, there is no such mention.
Okay, sorry, I think it's the previous verse. I'm sorry.
Maybe the previous version, but self-realization means understanding who am I, who is God, and what is my constitutional position. This is what is self-realization.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions? So if there are no questions, Prabhu, can I take the class as closed?
Sure. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you all very much. Bhagavad-gītā ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Pranam.